Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Napoleon Total, and today we're back with another Enlisted episode, and today we're going to be doing the guy on a Panzer IV, a German medium tank in Enlisted. This video will cover the vehicle and how you should use it in Enlisted, so let's get started. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and let's get started with the history of the Panzer IV. Following the instructions of the Panzer IV Ausf, the German Army High Command, OKH, issued orders for the deployment and production of a new Ausf version. This version, in essence, was a copy of the previous one with some minimal changes. One of the main changes that was originally planned was to use the 50mm frontal armor, but it was not implemented by the time of production, and in July of 1939, the OKH awarded a contract for producing 223 vehicles to Krupp. This contract was reduced to 206 vehicles in March of 1941, and eventually during the production run that lasted from October of 1940 to April of 1941, some 200 vehicles were built. The 4 remaining chassis were converted to Barker-Lag 4 British carriers and were tested with new experimental suspensions, and some 224 Ausf vehicles were built by April of 1941. While the Panzer IV Ausf was virtually very similar to the previously built Ausf version, there were some differences. The Ausf superstructure was identical to that of the previous Ausf. One of the few changes that was made was introduction of a new driver's pivoting visitor, which could remain in use up to the end of the war. Another change was the replacement of the hinge design of Glace's hatch doors, which increased protection. The turret design on the Ausf was mostly unchanged in comparison to the earlier Ausf versions, and the commander's cupola was redesigned and better protected. In the first 5 vision slits, each of which protected by 2 upper and lower sliding armored covers. In addition, the commander's cupola was moved forwards and was now located directly above the turret roof. Previously, it was sliding to the back and with one part protruding to the turret rear. Another additional visual change was the addition of a fuel ventilator, removing one and designating the second signal port protective cap shape. From March 1941 onward, all Ausf vehicles were equipped with this sharp storage bin placed on the turret's rear, and this version introduced a new front drive sprocket design. In addition, the 8 small road wheels received new cap covers. Besides these, nothing else was changed on the Panzer IV Ausf suspension and transmission. During the Polish campaign, the Germans noted that the enemy 75mm gun could easily penetrate any tank that they had in their inventory. This included the Panzer IV Ausf, this was mainly due to the weak armor of the German vehicles at the time, and based on the experience, the Ausf's frontal armor was to be increased to 50mm. Since this decision was already too late, as the Ausf was under production, it was instead equipped with 30mm of hardened frontal armor as a temporary solution. Additional 30mm armor plates were bolted to the superstructure front, and due to the production delays, not all factory builds were required with extra armor, with some receiving it later on in the field. Additional 20mm armor was placed on the turret front and superstructure sides on some of the Panzer Ausf vehicles. The armor of the commander's cupola was increased to 95mm, and the Panzer IV Ausf also had a 50mm thick frontal hull plate on the beginning of the production. Other than that, the remaining armor thickness values was the same as the Panzer Ausf, and the main armament was unchanged and consisted of a 7.5cm KWK 337L 24 gun. The ammunition loaded for these 2 machines were stowed in 21 belt stacks, each of 150 rounds, of which 3,150 rounds in total, and the vehicles that were damaged were returned to the front line were repaired with the longer KWK 40 guns. These vehicles were mainly used for training crews, but as replacement vehicles for active frontline units as the war went on. But that's it, that is all for characteristics and history. Let's move on to the in-game stats. In terms of stats, the Panzer IV basically has a crew of 5 man, a 75mm gun, of 80 rounds, of which half of them are AP and another half are HE, 7.92mm MG34 machine gun of 2,700 rounds, maximum speed of 42 km per hour, hull of 15mm in the front, 20 in the side, 20 in the back, and 10 on the bottom. And in terms of turret armor, you have 30mm, 20mm, you have 30mm on the front, 20mm on the side, 11mm on the back, 10mm on top. Engine power of 255 km per hour at 3,000 RPM, weight of 21 tons, and that is it for stats in terms of the Panzer IIIe. In terms of the overall strength of the Panzer IV, I believe it's a pretty good tank. The best way that you can use this thing is pretty much when you're using it against infantry. If you're using it against anyone else, then there's a problem. Do not use this thing against tanks. At least you shouldn't be using it anything above a BT-7. If you're using it up against stuff like the BT-7, the T-26s, and even the T-60, not to mention the T-50 and the T-28 and the T-34, all of them can penetrate you. The T-60 can penetrate you from the side, of which you're gonna be doomed if it does. And basically this thing has no armor. It basically literally has no armor. I'm gonna say it again, it has no armor. Do not expect the armor to save you, unless the enemy shells bounce off, then maybe it can save you. But in terms of taking out enemy tanks, you can take out a lot. A T-60 you can definitely take out, especially with the HE round, especially if you aim for the turret, and sometimes the HE round can penetrate. Next, you can also take out the T-26 almost front on with APC rounds. The BT-7 can be easily taken out, and then another thing that you can easily take out is the T-28. Especially if you know where to aim, and that is direct center mass. The things that you can't take out are pretty much the T-50 and the T-34-76. Basically, those things you cannot take out no matter what you do. But that's it. This is why you mainly use this tank against infantry. Everyone's gonna penetrate you, but thankfully this thing is quite fast. But the issue right here is that you really have to make sure that you don't get shot on, and if you happen to find a tank, you literally have to take them out. You literally have to take out the enemy tank. That is why you literally have to have teammates who are gonna need to really find the enemy tank and take it out. But in terms of everything else, this thing has a pretty good 75mm gun. The HE rounds are fantastic. They're extremely good against infantry, as a matter of fact. I would say it's, as of right now, it is one of the best units against infantry. One of the best tanks against infantry. But that's that in terms of the Panzer IV. I can't really say anything else, because this thing, although it's not bad, it's not great, especially against tanks. But against infantry, it's extremely good. But that's it. This is all it for the Panzer IV. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. Now before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.